Hi everyone. Today I have 11 collocations that we use to describe negative situations and feelings. These phrases are really good when you want to tell a story about something that didn't work out as you planned, or a time that wasn't so good, or it was difficult. To start, try to download the PDF. It's on the side here, and try to figure out which collocations go with the example sentences. You will see that at the end of each example sentence is the definition to the correct collocation. For example, let's look at number 1 here. It says, "The very first time I got pulled over, the police officer was so nice. It was blank when he gave me a ticket." The correct word has the meaning of a bad or unexpected event. So, try your best. It's really important to develop the skill of being able to figure out the meaning of a word from the context. Try your best, and on the next page below are the answers. Come back when you're done. All right, welcome back. So, let's review the answers. Down here, these answers are in the order of the questions. So number 1 is a nasty shock or a nasty surprise. This just means it was a very bad, unexpected surprise. Number 2, a fit of jealousy, fit of frustration, a fit of rage. A fit of frustration is kind of similar to we might call a temper tantrum from a child. So a fit of frustration, you're I'm in a fit, kind of be acting out in a not a good way. Um, Sick with worry or worried sick, same meaning either way. Just really, really worried. This does not mean the person is actually sick. So you may be worried sick and have an upset stomach. You may be worried sick and just nervous, but it doesn't mean you are literally sick. Ridiculous scheme. This word has that scheme pronunciation. So you will hear some people say scheme, but the correct pronunciation is scheme. A ridiculous scheme. Ridiculous. Crazy. Lost cause and take exception to. So this just simply means you were a little offended and maybe said something about a comment that you didn't like. My mom said my handwriting is really terrible. I took exception. Well, your handwriting isn't much better, which is not true. She has much better handwriting than me. Vented his, her, my, their frustration. This just means to let it go. And it has a really strong suggestion of talking. So if you vent your frustration, it really suggests that you called someone and you talked to them and complained about whatever it was that you were frustrated about. Next is admit defeat. So just to say you were defeated, you can't win. Bottle up your feelings. Do not express your feelings. Good feelings, bad feelings, either way. To bottle up your feelings, you're not sharing your feelings. And increase your stress levels. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do 5 or 6 speaking questions. You can see down here, I have 12 speaking questions for you, along with some ideas on the side as well. These are just some thoughts that I had that might help you as you try speaking. All right, let's start with the first one. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is give an example answer to a few of these questions. When I give these example answers, I'm going to be focusing on my pronunciation. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on pausing and intonation. Pausing is just that, when you pause between words or sentences, and this can be used to add effect, to make your talk a little more dramatic, to emphasize the last idea you just said, or to help your listener gather all the information they just heard. Either way, pausing is important because it makes your talking a little more interesting and a little easier to comprehend. It's what natural English speakers do. Next, I'm going to work on my intonation. Intonation is the rise and fall of your voice as you speak. This is something I hear a lot of students not do. A lot of students talk in a flat and monotone voice similar to the way I am talking now as they think of what they're going to say. Try to include more emotion in your voice. Rise and fall. Pause when you want to stress an idea or it's a natural place to take a breath. First, I'm going to start with number 4. And has someone ever told you a ridiculous scheme they had? Notice as I talk my pausing. I will have intonation too. My voice will go up and down, but pay attention to the pausing for this one. So, a ridiculous scheme that I heard was last year in 2020. It was right as coronavirus was breaking out across the world. And here in Vietnam, coronavirus was just starting to pop up. I think the government had already canceled schools at this point, but it was right before the border was going to close. Everyone knew the border was about to close. We could tell if you were reading the news and you saw how dangerous it was and how other countries were responding, you knew they were going to close the border. So the ridiculous scheme that I heard was one of my friends said, I really want to go visit my other friends in Cambodia before the border is closed. Okay. The problem is they're about to close the border. So we tell him this. We say, hey, you really shouldn't go. This is dangerous. You might get locked in Cambodia. So, oh, don't worry. He said, I'm like a cat. I can just quick, if I hear they're going to close the border, I can quickly get to the border and they'll let me through. No, that's not what happened at all. I have not seen my friend for a year and a half because he's been stuck in Cambodia. His ridiculous, idiotic scheme of hearing the news and then running to the border right before they closed it did not work out. This next example answer, pay attention to my intonation. I will have pausing as well, but keep an ear out for the rise and fall of my voice. Does it make my speaking more interesting? Does it help to emphasize key ideas? Yes, it does. So, a time something or someone was absolutely hopeless. This happened to me earlier this year, and I left my morning job that I was working, and I was going to, in my mind, I had a ridiculous scheme to continue waking up early. I liked the fact that I had woken up early during my morning job, and I thought this is a good habit. I have lots of energy, I get lots of things done through the day, so I want to continue to wake up early. And my ridiculous scheme was simply I'm going to set my alarm at 6 a.m. and I'm going to wake up and start my day. It was a lost cause. It was totally hopeless. It was beyond hopeless because the first Monday came, my alarm went off at 6 a.m. and I didn't get out of bed until about 9 o'clock. And I have not gotten up since. So this next one, I'm going to do number 10. Number 10 can be a little difficult. It asks, have you ever had to admit defeat? What happened? This can be hard because you may not be able to think of a time you said, I'm defeated, I've lost. If you have this type of question, a unanswerable question where you can't think of the answer, First, tell the speaker you can't answer the question. This is perfectly normal. In English, if one of my friends or anyone asks me a question that I can't think of information to right there on the spot, you say. Make sure you explain why you don't know, why you can't answer. Explain, I've never done this. I've never had this happen to me. When I was young, my parents wouldn't let me do this. Whatever the reason is. But explain why. And then finally try to talk about the topic in some related way. The important thing is to show the examiner that it's not a lack of vocabulary or English skill, but it's simply a lack of experience or world knowledge that you can't answer this. So for this, I'm going to talk about, have you ever had to admit defeat? What happened? Well, that's a tough question. And honestly, I really can't think of anything off the top of my head. That's not to say I haven't never been defeated or I've never lost at something. But at the moment, I can't think of a time when I lost and I just threw in the towel. I just gave up. Admit defeat. Now, admitting defeat what's coming to mind is like battles or wars where the army admitted defeat and surrendered, or maybe a game like Monopoly when your opponent has lots of money and property and you don't have any and you just want to admit defeat and let the game be over. I still can't think of anything personal, a time when I've had to admit defeat, but I'm sure there is. I haven't succeeded in everything, unfortunately, so I've surely had to admit defeat at some point in my life. Notice when I gave my answer, I purposefully tried to show good vocabulary. I used some idiomatic phrases like throw in the towel off the top of my head. And I tried to show the examiner, look, I can't answer this question, not because of vocabulary, just because I can't think of a specific example to give you. And I tell you, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I can't think of anything right now to tell you about admitting defeat. Then I go on to try to at least show I know admit defeat. I talk about, what comes to mind is battles or a game when you want to say you've lost and make it end. So make sure when you have a tricky, difficult question, tell the examiner, tell them why, explain, trying to talk about the topic in some related way. Don't go off topic. Don't speak, but do try to talk about it. It's important on the IELTS, especially that you have a willingness to speak at length. That is in a band 6. They say willing to speak at length. Let's do one last speaking question. So, for this last question, number 12, I see students make a very common mistake when they answer these types of questions. That is, they list idea, but they don't give any details about these ideas. They don't explain their ideas. So, when you have a question, make sure you talk about your idea a little bit. Don't just list ideas. So, types of things that increase my stress levels. Well, there's a couple things that increase my stress levels. First is not having enough sleep. If I don't get enough sleep at night, I feel much more stressed the next day. And it's usually, I feel like I have more work I have to do, even if it's the same amount, but it increases my stress a lot. The other thing that really increases my stress is not having enough time. So if I feel like I have to do something and another thing and another thing and another thing, and there's not any breathing time in between, it really stresses me out. Notice in that example, I explain my ideas. I tell you, oh, not why not getting enough sleep makes me feel stressed. And I explain why having a busy schedule makes me feel stressed. That's much better than saying, oh, money, not having enough money makes me stressed, and my friends sometimes stress me out when they call me, and oh, my commute to work every day is really stressful because of the traffic, and I don't get enough sleep, that's stressful. Notice that time I'm just listing ideas. Even if I say because, I'm not developing it enough. So, I hope you found this video helpful. Please go to my website if you want to download a copy of this PDF for free. And you have a great one. Bye bye, guys.